All right, I just don't know how the news can continue to get crazier and crazier about these paddles, but somehow they found a way to make the story about the Gen 3s even more wild. If you aren't caught up at this point, I'll give a brief summary, but I also made a whole other video about this if you want to go ahead and watch that. But the gist is, USAP delisted the paddles. Joola came out and said, these will be reapproved soon. We're going to expedite the testing and have it done quick, and hopefully within a week, we're going to have everything finished. That was essentially the gist. That time goes by, and then the UPA decides they're going to ban it for the Texas tournament that I was just at, which was a PPA tournament. So you couldn't use any Gen 3s there. That was surprising because no one thought UPA was going to do that. And then yesterday, USAP releases an article saying that the Gen 3 Joolas failed the recertification. Now, I'm not going to read the entire post, but there are a few things from within this post that I want to talk about, and then we'll get to Joola Statement in just a minute. So the first thing that I want to highlight was about the decertification. They said, USA Pickleball received and tested the newly submitted paddles, which did not meet our approved equipment standards. As a result, these paddles have not been added to the USA Pickleball approved equipment list. So basically all they're saying right there is that the Gen 3 Joolas failed the recertification and they are still not approved. Then in the rest of the article, they basically have a frequently asked questions section to answer some of the questions that we've all been wondering. Now, one of the things I want to read was, why did this issue take weeks after launch to be addressed? Incorrect. USA Pickleball communicated concerns to Joola prior to the launch. As soon as Joola notified USA Pickleball that the wrong paddles had been submitted for similarity certification, meaning that the non-certified paddles were now available for sale, we took immediate action to remove these models from the approved equipment list. Joola subsequently submitted additional paddles for certification. These additional paddles also failed a rigorous process of third-party certification testing, so these paddles remain non-certified. Now, the only thing I have to say about this, and this is me having to read between the lines a little bit here, is if USAP had an issue or concerns prior to the launch, why did they let this continue to happen? Did they email Joola and say, hey, there's an issue, you shouldn't launch these? And then if you did know about the issue, why did it take a full month from the paddles launching to actually do anything about it? I'm confused why Joola had to admit there was an issue when the Gen 3s were in the wild. USAP could have acquired them, cut them open, and compared to whatever was the ones that were actually submitted for testing. It's just a bit confusing to me that USAP is saying they had concerns, and I'm curious what those concerns were, but they don't actually say that in the letter. And then it took a full month for those concerns to be validated and then actually do something about it. I don't know. That part's really not that important to what's happening right now. It was just something that I kind of thought was interesting inside of the statement. If they were aware of an issue, I just don't know why it took a month to act on it. Other than that, there's not that much new inside of the statement from USAP, at least if you're a nerd and follow a lot of the inner workings. If you don't, there is some interesting stuff in there about paddle certification and how these things tend to go when there's bans or paddles failing in the wild and them contacting manufacturers. If you want to read it, the article will be linked down below. All right, and now we have Joola's statement about the issue, which came out the following day after USAP's announcement. Their update reads, we were extremely disappointed to learn of USA Pickleball's decision to remove Joola's Gen 3 paddle from the approved paddles list. Joola has worked for weeks to come to a mutually agreeable resolution with USAP and views this decision as unfortunate for the sport of pickleball. While we are confident the current Gen 3 paddles are materially and structurally the same as those approved by USAP in September 2023 and therefore comply with USAP standards, we care deeply about our customers and the inconvenience and confusion the USAP decision has caused. To demonstrate our commitment, we are offering full refunds for customers who purchased any Gen 3 paddles between April 16th and June 15th, 2024. For customers who purchased from our retail and e-commerce partners during the same time frame, we are facilitating a process for refunds through them. Then they go on to say some stuff about caring about the sport and whatnot, and then the last detail is, we plan to dispute USAP's decision to remove Gen 3 paddles from the list and the process employed to do so in forthcoming legal proceedings. So I guess if you have bought one of these Joolas and have been wanting to return one, Joola is now offering a full refund for everyone. I think we were all wondering how Joola was going to handle this if the news continued to go on that they were delisted, and this is a really big move from Joola. To offer a full refund on probably the biggest paddle launch in all of pickleball history is a pretty big deal, and I think that was the right thing to do. So if you do have one of these and you want a refund, you can do that now. It sounds like if you bought through a retailer like Pickleball Central, Just Paddles, or so on, you'll have to wait for more news from them to hear about how you can handle that. Now, at the end of their update, they make it sound like they are planning to take legal action against USAP. I guess we'll see how that pans out, because on the other side of this story, we have a law firm that has a class action lawsuit against Joola for everything that has been going on. Now, I'm not going to dive super deep into this class action lawsuit because I'm actually curious how it's even going to work now that Joola is offering full refunds to everyone. It seems like the class action lawsuit would be more valid when they weren't offering refunds to everybody, but now that customers can be taken care of and get all their money back, I don't know how the class action lawsuit will hold up. To be honest, anything related to law is not my specialty. I review pickleball paddles on YouTube, but if you are interested in reading about that class action lawsuit, I will try and have that link down below for you to read as well. But regardless, it sounds like we are at the part of the story now where we are going to be in a bunch of legal battle over these paddles. This is completely crazy to see all of this going on. I know initially everyone was kind of hoping, or at least assuming, that these paddles would be back on the list pretty quickly, but at this point, it doesn't seem like they're coming back anytime soon. Now, the last thing I want to talk about really quickly is I'm curious if any other paddle bans are coming next, because Dong from Ronbus just put out a statement on Instagram that the Ripple that they have been working on for the last 18 or so months that received USA Pickleball approval has now been delisted by USAP. Ronbus's statement reads, "On June 3rd, 2024, we received news from USA Pickleball that the originally approved Ronbus Ripple paddles are being delisted. The USA Pickleball has retroactively developed and used another test on paddle whose power performance exceeds the normal range. Our Ripple paddles did not pass this new test as currently designed. With an upcoming release anticipated, the Ripple was set to become the most powerful paddle on the market due to its unique internal structure and proprietary materials. After spending significant time and resources on the development of this paddle, this recent decision is certainly a setback. However, we do respect the decision of the USA Pickleball and will continue to work with them as pickleball's governing body in the United States. Ronbus will persevere as a science-driven company that strives to push the boundaries in the pickleball world through innovative technology. Unfortunately, this time we pushed those boundaries so far that they broke." Now, this was a pretty interesting statement. If you've hung out in my Discord, then you probably have heard about the Ronbus Ripple and that it was going to be an extremely powerful paddle. So on one hand, if it was actually going to be the most powerful paddle in pickleball, it's probably good that that didn't actually get released. From what we've seen of the Gen 3 Joola and the Gearbox Pro Power Elongated, it's pretty clear that if we go any higher than that, that we're going to have a pretty big problem. People already had issues with the speed that the paddles I just mentioned were already at, so exceeding that would have been even crazier. But it is very interesting that this paddle made it through approval and is now being delisted, and it makes me wonder if we have any other paddles that this is going to happen to. I mean, there's still the Gearbox out there, which is known to be very powerful. We have the Vatic Oni, and then there's been several rumors about other paddles possibly being taken off the list. Of course, at this time, it's all just rumors, so who knows if it's actually true. But what a wild time to be in pickleball paddles. So that's all the news I have for you guys now. Basically, Joola Gen 3s probably aren't coming back anytime soon. Looks like there's going to be legal action. And if you wanted a refund on your paddle, you are able to go and get one. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.